Hey everyone, how you doing today? All right. So recently, I had my cat spayed, Libby, the little kitten. You might have seen her in one of the videos. She was part of a relationship, so out of the relationship, I ended up with the cat. And great cat, love her to death. But I had to go get her spayed, and it's the first time I've done that in a very long time because Libra's spayed, Gideon's neutered, so I'm used to the process, right? If you have domestic cats, dogs, especially like they say to like to calm them down. I've heard like people say that so that they're easier to have in the house, and then the females you don't have as many issues and things to deal with there. So and they don't stray, right? They don't go around looking for things, so it's less problematic if you have them as pets. So it goes back to the general idea of just should we have pets? But I just wanted to talk about the spay part of it. Um, so I took her to get spayed. She loves me. She trusts me. I give her everything she needs. Been there since she was a little baby. Before we took her away from her mom, which was traumatic for a couple of days for her. So you've got that aspect of it, right? You have to take them away from their parents, which is very sad for them and their siblings that they have. You also take them away from the siblings, so you've got that part of it. But she trusted me. To her, I'm her protector, and you know, she gets everything from me, right? Jotted a few things down, but like free housing, uh, free health care, right? Spaying is part of that. She gets love. You pet them, gifts, treats, whatever you'd like to call them. Uh, Free food. That's all taken care of. That's a whole other issue as far as veganism goes, but we'll try to keep this one consolidated. So free food, treats. We talked about that, and free water. Maybe some other things I forgot to put down, but that's a good bit of it, right? So to her, you're like her parent. So you give them everything that they're supposed to have or that they would want, but it's a give and take. So things that she doesn't get, owning pets. Here, I'll put it over here just because you see me looking over, you'd be curious. Um, so things she doesn't get, right? She doesn't get freedom. She's essentially imprisoned involuntarily. It wasn't her choice. We went over there. We picked her up because the person who owned her mother had the litter. I guess she wasn't spayed, so she had the litter, and it was too much for her to deal with. So she started selling them off. I think she was like $50 or something. It was very very cheap, not bad at all. So there you go. I mean, the animals are being treated like commodities. You're making money off them, which honestly, was she really? Um, I don't know what she'd had to put into these cats. Maybe she didn't do anything to them, but a lot of times they'll take those kittens and get shots done and things like that, which I don't think she did. So maybe she did just make money, but she was feeding them. So at best, she probably broke even. Probably not even that. But we had to go over there and take it, away from the kitten, the mother. But it's involuntary imprisonment. So we went over there, took her away from her family, snatched her away. Um, and she already wasn't in her natural environment just because it was a domesticated cat, it was her mother. So they were already removed from their natural environment. They were living in houses that, they weren't really planned to live in houses. It just kind of happened. Um, Sometimes they stay in like cages, kennels, houses, apartments, etc. Various living conditions. Sometimes outside, like an inside-outside cat. So they kind of get the best of both worlds. They get to be, free on the outside, but then come inside, which are kind of like my cats. They spend most of their days outside. Unless it's raining, then they'll be inside. But the door's always open, so they can go out there and play whenever they want. So they're like inside outside cats. I guess they get almost, like a natural kind of environment. They're not out there hunting, obviously, because, we feed them. So, and then there's the whole, vegan cat food. We won't go there just yet. But I just wanted to talk about the actual spaying process because, like I said, she trusted me. I was a protector. I was like her parent. Provide everything for her, everything she needs. I provide for her. But unfortunately, we don't speak the same language. I'm a different species, so to her, I'm alien, right? I'm different. I'm just different species, right? Still souls inside of vessels, That's all true. But these vessels look very different. They operate very differently. We have different mental capacities in these current forms. So I can't talk to her. I can't explain to her what's going on. I can't say, hey, I can't deal with a bunch of your kids running around. I can't afford it. We're going to have an overpopulation problem if we do that. So, plus, you're a little rambunctious and this might calm you down a little bit. That's not why I did it. I did it because I don't want a bunch of kittens. You ever seen one of those charts that shows, like, I should have looked that up. How many, like, kittens you can have if you don't spay them in a neighborhood and they just start, boom, exploding. So, but I couldn't explain that to her. We don't speak the same language. So to her, I just got her this animal that trusted me. And you don't get them spayed for a while. So it's, a couple months in when you do this. So they already trust you at this point. And you take them and you put them in a bag and you zip up that bag and they're upset. You stick them in your car, your vehicle. You drive them to the vet's office. And the vet's office is full of other animals, some of them freaking out, some aren't. And, they don't understand. They don't understand what they're doing there. Imagine how strange that is for an animal. Number one, like I said, you get snatched from your family, you get raised somewhere else. You finally build that trust, and as soon as you do, they stick you in a bag or a kennel or a box or something, and they take you to a strange environment where you're smelling all these other animals, and some of them are freaked out. There's probably like fear in the air, and they can hear things going on. Very strange environment. And then you drop them off with these people that they don't know. Maybe they've seen them once before. And then they get put to sleep. So however that process goes, I'm sure that's odd. And when they wake up out of that sleep, their body's been torn open to some degree and parts have been removed. So, this is almost like an alien abduction kind of thing, right? Not an alien, but I'm just saying, like, just trying to give you an example that's something similar that you would think like from movies and things like that. So to this animal, to her, I'm alien, which just means different, right? I'm different. I look different. I talk different mannerisms, lifespan, everything totally different. So, the person that she trusted drops her off at this place, whatever it seems like to her. They knock her out with gas or however they do it. She wakes up and she's probably feeling some pain after the anesthesia. She's groggy. She feels drugged. She's looking around. She feels drugged. She's looking down. I mean, right? It's just like someone abducting you. And you wake up in a bathtub full of ice with some organs missing. Just kind of on that level to some degree. Because they don't understand. And they don't realize like what happened. They just woke up and someone had taken organs away from them. And not only that, they were dropped off by the person they trusted. The person they trusted the most in the world, that they are in love with, dropped them off to this weird place where they got knocked out with gas or drugs or something. And they wake up cut open with things missing. And they don't know what's going on, and they're groggy from the drugs, and they don't get it. And you eventually pick them up and you take them home, and they're still groggy that first day. And they sleep a lot, right? Because they're all drugged up. So they sleep, and this is when it got really bad, is the next day. So the next day, the drugs had kind of worn off, even though they gave me pills, and I think she got most of them down, but in the morning, I guess it had all worn off. So I've never seen her so sad in my life. She just looked devastated. She was looking at me like it wasn't anger. It was just like betrayal. Like she felt betrayed. Because she didn't know what happened. She didn't understand the justification for why I did it. Even though at this point in my life, I don't really agree with pet ownership at this point anymore. And that's one of the reasons is because of what I had to do to her. Aside from the fact that, number one, it's unnatural. I don't think God intended for them to be running around with us. They were supposed to be running around doing their own thing. Catching mice or whatever they do, and there are reasons for that. But I understand they ended up being domesticated, and I love cats. Don't get me wrong. I love dogs too. I used to have dogs. I love dogs. Love dogs. I love cats. I've always been a pet person. Always. But at the same time, is it natural? No, it's not natural. They weren't born to be in our houses. We brought them in because we liked them. We enjoyed their company. But, it's not like they had a choice. They're being forced into the situation. And does she have a good life? Yeah, she does. Free housing, free healthcare, love, gifts, treats, food, free water, and freedom. I should have put that, somewhat limited freedom, but she has freedom. I let her, she can go outside whenever she wants, run around. It's up to her. They can stay outside all day long if they want and run around. The neighborhood's open. They don't stray too far, but they can. They're allowed to go wherever they want. Best of both worlds. At night, when it's hot or cold or rainy, they come inside. They always sleep inside, but nice warm beds, so no problem there. And then in the morning, they get to eat and they go out and they do what they want to do. So it's about as good as it can get for them. But it's not a voluntary situation. They're not technically caged in when they're outside. They can roam around, but it's not like they signed up for this. I signed them up for this because I went and picked them up and I brought them in. But one of the biggest things is like the spaying and the neutering, which I agree. If you're going to live with them in your house, I've always done it. I'll just say that. I've always done it so we can keep the populations down, especially if you get into the feeding aspect of it. Because I think dogs are pretty safe to eat vegan meals. It's not natural. I don't think that's in their natural diet, especially for cats. Maybe for dogs, I don't know. I'm not an expert on that. I know dogs can do it pretty easily. Cats, they say they're like designated carnivores or something like that, obligate carnivores. There's definitely nutritional things that they need, and if you've ever looked at their teeth, if you look at their teeth, not like mine. We're made for plants and things like that, like vegan. That's the answer. But they're not. I'm not sure if you ever looked at a cat's teeth, but they're pretty treacherous. Hang down real low, and they're designed for killing things. That's what they do. That's how they were built. And, we're not cats. That's why it's different. We're supposed to be vegan. They're supposed to be cats. And granted, I did order some vegan cat food because I feel horrible about it. Because I thought that I was naive, right? I would go buy those cat foods and I'm like, well, in the wild, I'm thinking about thinking now, well, in the wild, what would they eat? Rats, lizards, bugs, maybe some grass. But I've checked PetSmart. They don't have those options. Those aren't flavors that they provide. They don't have cat food, as far as I'm aware. I could be wrong. Maybe they have it and I haven't seen it. But I've never seen rat flavored cat food. Or what, and squirrels, whatever else they eat. I don't know. Depends on the region, I guess. Fish? Sure, I guess they could catch a fish. Birds? As horrible as that sounds, yeah. I'm pretty sure they kill birds. They're hunters. It's what they do. Obviously, because I feed them food that somebody else murdered, hey! Shh! They're in there going crazy. So I feed them. But like I said, I was naive about the food. It would say it would be a can of cat food, and it would say salmon. And it's wet foods. Hey! Oh boy, hold on. These cats are going nuts. Hey! They're fighting or something. But it would be like a can, and it would say salmon or trout or whatever. And I'm thinking naively, I'm like, okay, well, that seems like a pretty natural food source. So I don't agree with killing the fish. I don't agree with killing anything. If it doesn't need to be killed, and it doesn't need to be killed by me, because we're supposed to be vegan. So I'm not supposed to be killing it. But if I don't feed them, they're going to die. So it's a very tricky situation to be in, which is why I don't even like having pets at this point, because it's just morally, I've got issues with it now, especially with feeding them. But when you look at the ingredients on there, which I had never done, but when you look at the back, even though it says salmon, like they always start off with like animal byproduct or cow byproduct stuff like this. So even though it says like fish, it's full of like probably cows and pigs and other animals, like whatever stuff that they can't kill at the slaughterhouse, like the other things that aren't considered like human edible. They stuff them in animal food, like cat food, dog food. So even when I try to get around it to where I can morally feel a little bit better about it, it doesn't work because they've got the animal byproducts in there. So you've got cows and pigs and chickens and stuff like that. And, could a cat kill a chicken? Probably. Is it natural? I doubt it. Maybe. I don't know. Could a cat kill a cow? No, I don't think so. Not a house cat. maybe maybe a jaguar or something like that, but not a house cat. And pigs? No, I don't think so. So it's completely unnatural the way they're fed, which is why I'm trying to get them switched over to this vegan stuff, which so far they seem to like it. But it's really expensive. It's like $50 for like a fairly small bag. So I don't know if that has to be because the products they have to put in there, to make it like an animal product, like taurine, I think is one of them, and there's probably other minerals and chemicals and things they got to put in there. I'll have to look more into it. But that's just one of the other things that I have a problem with. And I can't throw them out. They depend on me, so I have to feed them. But I'm definitely going to look into the vegan cat food. At least that's one aspect. That if I could get them on vegan cat food and get them off the animal products, then I would not feel that bad because 100%. I wouldn't feel 100% bad. I still feel bad about some of the stuff. But at least at that point, I wouldn't be killing an animal to feed them. Now, you could argue it's not natural to feed them a vegan diet, and I would agree with you, it's not. Because you can just tell. I mean, look at their teeth. You can see what they're designed to eat. They're obligate carnivores. They're supposed to be eating those animals. And like I said, God understands everything and orchestrates everything, even though we do have free will. And there are reasons that takes place that we don't need to get into, but we're not all great people. So I would feel a lot better about it if I could do the vegan food. And I have it. So let's just see how it goes. And honestly, this company I'm buying from, it's like Benevo, I think it's one of them. I don't know. I don't have a lot of experience with those companies. I don't know if it's a good one or a bad one. The reviews look good. How it compares to other ones, I don't know. I'll find out. But so far it looks good. And they've been in business, I think, like 15, 16 years. So I guess if it was that bad, they'd be out of business. But the prices are rough. So I have to figure that out. But getting back to that. So I would feel better. They'd be eating vegan. They have their freedom, right? They can go outside anytime they want, run around, do whatever they want to do. So that's good. They got freedom. That's awesome. Did they sign up for it? No, they didn't sign up for it. They didn't sign up for it. They were involuntarily incarcerated. The worst of it is having their sexual organs removed. Obviously, they didn't sign up for that. Even though they have a good situation, right? The housing and the health care and the gifts and the love and the treats and the water and everything. That's all good. And are they happy? Yeah, they seem really happy. But would you sign up for it? Because it's the golden rule, right? That's the easiest thing to remember, the golden rule. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So would I be happy in this situation? Or would you be happy? More importantly, would you be happy? So, we'll go with our guys first. So here's the option. You can be picked up by this other species, this alien type species, different from you. You won't understand their language. All you'll know is that they love you. They love you dearly. They they pet you. They give you a place to live. You'll never have to work. Everything will be given to you for free. I'm not saying you'll have a ton of options, but they'll give you what they think is best for you as far as food and housing and all that stuff. So, and we're not going to go into the scenarios where you get a bad owner and we're just going to keep it simple. So we'll just take a very rosy, scenario here. They're going to take care of you. You'll never have to work. We'll even use my situation. You'll have the freedom to go outside and run around and do whatever you want. And then at night you come inside and you sleep in a nice bed. Get treats, things like that. You won't have total freedom. You can't stray too far from the house, but you'll at least have somewhat. You'll be like a free range human. You'll be able to run around a little bit. One downside is that you're going to have your testicles removed. So, for a lot of guys, that could be a deal breaker. You know, you're going to get everything. You're going to get everything else, though. All this good stuff. You're going to get all this: the free housing, the healthcare, love. Not that kind of love, though. You'll never have that kind of love because you're going to get those snipped off. But you will get love like petting, things like that. Just nothing sexual. Gifts, you know, free food, treats, free water. All that can be yours. The only thing you're going to have to give up are your testicles. But you'd never have to work. Everything would be free. All you have to do is give up your testicles. And there's going to be some hormonal changes that come with that. I didn't look these up. I got this from one website. Maybe there's more, maybe there's less. I don't know. You can agree, disagree with these, but you know, some obesity because you're losing your male hormones, right? So urinary incontinence, various cancers, immune-mediated diseases, musculoskeletal disorders, cognitive and behavioral problems. I don't know what they're talking about there. But so there's negatives with losing your sexual hormones because guess what? When God designed us, we had testicles. The guys, just talking to the guys now. We had testicles, right? Typically. So they're not really designed to be cut off, especially when you're young, because I think they use those as part of like your growing process for building your bones and muscular structure and all that stuff. So that's going to be, and then mentally, you know, for a lot of guys, like you're into that like macho machismo. You're like, I'm a guy. I want to work out and get real buff and, you know, walk around and look tough and I'm a bad dude. So I'm guessing like once they're snipped off, you're probably not going to be like that anymore. You'd probably be like a little more docile. The same reason we do it to animals. You want to calm them down. They say like, oh, I want to calm them down a bit and keep them from straying out of the yard and looking for things that might get them in trouble and might lead to other kids, right? They don't want you reproducing. The same reason we do it to our cats and dogs. You don't want them reproducing. You don't want them to get aggressive. You don't want them straying too far from the house, looking for things that they don't technically need. Those are things that they want, you know. And for the ladies, you know. Well, let's stick with the guys for now. So as far as voluntarily, golden rule. Right, go back to the golden rule. Let's keep it simple. Just like dietary requirements from God, vegan. You can, what is it, five characters? Like, it's easy to remember. You can jot that down. There's no complex rules here as far as like eating. It's easy. Just write down vegan, put that on a little card and put it in your pocket. You can never forget it. It's simple. But going back to this. So the guys, you're going to have everything. Would you do this? Golden rule. We're going to keep it simple, right? Vegan for the eating rules. That's real simple. Well, put another card and write golden rule on there. Put that in your pocket. Golden rule. Think about it. Would you do this? Would you voluntarily sign up? Would you? Let's put you in that scenario. You're in the scenario. I'm the species that's not like you, right? Alien picks you up. We're not talking about aliens. It's just a scenario. It's from the movie, so I'm using it. People have all heard of them. So you're there. I'll give you the same situation Livy was in. You're the guy, right? So you're there with your mother. You're growing up in some environment that you know only because you don't know anything else. You were just there. That's the lady I got Livy from. So you're there with your mother. You're very young. You're eight weeks old, I think she was. So you're 8 weeks old. I don't know. Time frames between animals and humans difference. Just work with me here. You're young. Young enough to know what's going on. You get snatched away from your mother by two strangers. Thrown into a vehicle. Not thrown, come on. You're carried into a vehicle. Put in a little bag, put in a vehicle. You get taken over. You get put into an RV. You don't know what that is. It's just a house. You're freaked out and you hide like under the floorboards for I think it was like 2 days, 2 or 3 days before she ever came out. So you're terrified. You're in this new environment. You crawl under these boards, and you hide under there for a few days. And in those few days, you hear these beings. They're very tall. They're hairless mostly. They don't look anything like you. And they're like calling for you, and there's all this commotion and stuff. You don't know what's going on. You're freaked out. Your mother's not there. So as a baby boy, you're just crying. You want your mother. She's not there. After a couple of days, you give up on it. You're like, well, I just got abandoned, or these people stole me, whoever these people are. And you eventually learn, to love them and trust them and take food and things like that. And eventually, they're like your parents after a while, you know? And then, one of them goes away and then there's just one parent left. So it's just you and this one parent, whom at this point, this is months in, which obviously the human time frame is different. So just, you're a lot older compared to when you first got there. But you know what's going on. You're very happy. You're in this new environment. You like this alien or whatever you want to call it, this species you don't understand, don't speak the same language. You like it, treat you well, gives you all these nice things. You got a place to stay, you got health care and love and gifts, free food, treats, free water, you got all that. Everything's good. And in her situation, there's actually other people. So this boy who got abducted, adopted, stolen, however you want to look at it, gets a pre-made family. They're older, but the baby boy gets another girl to hang out with and another guy. So it's got a pre-built family. So things are good. Although the boy lost siblings. So the other family had, the boy in the scenario lost those. Initially, we were snatched away. And now after that boy becomes comfortable, right? He becomes comfortable. He loves the environment, seems very happy. The owner takes him, puts him in a bag, takes him to a strange building, leaves him. And once he's in that building, these other strange beings that the boy doesn't know gas him or put an IV in him, however they do it, I don't know. And then he wakes up, in a bathtub in this scenario. There's a bunch of ice around him. He's got an incision. And the organs are missing. They would be missing, right? They take them out. So it's even worse. It's not just organs. You wake up in the bathtub. You got the ice all over you. You're groggy from all the drugs. You look down and your sac has been cut open and your balls are gone. Right? Imagine that. You just woke up. You're in a strange environment. Your owner, who you love, dropped you off. You're in the tub full of ice, and you wake up. You look down, you feel weird, and the first thing you see is your sac cut open, and your balls are gone, and someone stitched up your scrotum. And you're probably not in too much pain because of the drugs. You're still woozy. So, and then eventually, your owner comes, who loved you, who you thought loved you, comes and picks you up. And you've just been violated. You've been knocked out with drugs. As a guy, guys are pretty attached to their attachments. They're pretty attached to their man products there. So for whatever reasons you'll never understand, you were drugged. And while you were asleep, someone cut your nuts off. And then your owner comes back and they pick you up. And they're happy to see you. They're like, hey, what's going on? Oh, I hope you feel better. They're being so nice. And you're devastated because you just were violated and you had organs that you really enjoyed, or at least thought you needed, cut off. And that's before the hormonal changes start. I'm not sure how long that takes after you have those removed, but I would guess that's pretty aggressive. And then that's where the mood changes come in, and that's where the animals, calm down, so to speak. Well, yeah, They have hormones that they're designed to have to kind of grow their bodies and mature them into what they're supposed to be. And you took those female organs and you kind of cut them out of their body. So then the boy's going home, groggy. He's in the house the first day, probably sleeps the rest of the day because he's super tired from the drugs, and then wakes up the next morning. And he probably wakes up and his eyes are flittering and he's like, oh, what's that pain? Oh, it feels like my nuts are really hurting. And he looks down and his sack's been cut open and his testicles are gone and they're just stitched up. And where that sack used to be, there's just like a little skin's kind of rounded off now. What would you think? This person you trusted with everything, after being stolen away from your parents, you finally fall in love with this person. And they weren't mad at you. They seemed to be really happy with you. But they drop you off in a strange location. They knock you out with drugs. And they cut your testicles out. And then they come pick you up with a smile on their face. So the next day, the worst of it after the drugs had worn off, even though I had pills and I gave them to her, but the next day, she looks devastated. She'll look at me, but it's just these eyes like, why? What did I do? Why did you do this to me? They don't understand. The reasons that I had to do it, I didn't have to do it, but the reasons that I did it, like overpopulation, that's a huge issue. You don't want them having, tons of kids and then they can't take care of them and the environment gets impacted because they're running around killing everything because they're cats. And then I couldn't afford to have them all fixed. I just couldn't do it. And this is one of my big issues with just pet ownership in general, which is very strange coming from a guy who's had pets his entire life. I love pets. But when you apply the golden rule and when you apply the food standards, right? So you've got your religious food standards. They're simple, right? It's vegan. And you apply that with the golden rule, right? Which goes with veganism, right? You don't want to be killed, so you don't kill other things, other beings. That's how they're very interchangeable. There's a reason they work together. Because you don't want to exploit others. Because you go back to your golden rule. Do you want to be exploited? No. I would guess you don't. So then what does that mean? Then you apply that to others. I won't exploit them. So the eating standards, right, and the golden rule, they go together perfectly. And it's one of the things that makes pet ownership almost impossible. The vegan cat food thing, I'm very happy about. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to test it. They seem to like the flavor, so that's good. And as long as all the minerals and nutrients and all that stuff is in there that they need and it doesn't hurt them, I'm okay with it. You'll still have the issue, though. Is it natural? No. They're obligate carnivores, so it's not natural. It's a workaround. I'd be very happy if it works. But then it might lead to more pet ownership, which is an issue. And either way, at the end of the day, it's not natural. So you're always going to have that hurdle to overcome. But for people that already have these pets, you're not going to throw them out in the cold. You're not going to abandon them. So as a workaround for the pets that, I'll just talk about me. For the workaround for the pets that I have currently, I love the idea. Vegan cat food, I love the idea. I hope it works. I don't care about the price. I'll deal with it. If I have to cut back other places, I will. But for me, since I already have these pets and I don't want to abandon them, I don't want to just throw them out in the cold, it's fantastic for me. So this poor gentleman, this is what, day 2. Day 1, he slept. Day 2, he woke up, he was groggy, he looked down, his nuts are gone. He doesn't understand why. He thinks you love him. He's very confused. Why you would demasculate him for no reason. And you don't speak the same language. You can't explain it to them why this is good for them. You can't say, hey, you're not going to have a bunch of kids you can't take care of. You're not going to destroy the environment. This is good for you. You're not going to be running around, chasing things that you shouldn't be chasing. So it's, it's technically a good thing if you were to agree that owning pets is okay. And keep in mind, I didn't get this pet. My girlfriend got this pet, and this pet was supposed to go with her. But I should have known the day that we signed up and she didn't have her card and I ended up putting this cat on my pet plan. I should have just known that day that this cat was going to end up with me. And I love her. She's cool. I like her, So I'll keep her, but I'd already had my reservations about pets before we got this cat. And then having to have her spayed really brought it all to the forefront, especially with the, trying to incorporate that. Like, how do you make this work with veganism? Like, veganism is a core pillar because of you don't want to exploit, right? Christians don't exploit others. That includes everyone. People, animals, the environment, everything. It includes everything. So as a Christian, you don't exploit others. So when you incorporate that in with like the food standards, if you like to call them that, it's the only way to make it work. There's no exploitation. So you really, it's almost impossible to make that work with pets. And then you run into the issues of spaying and neutering, the involuntary imprisonment. You have to feed them other animals, which that absolutely has to go. Otherwise, you can be vegan and you could argue that, well, they're designed to eat meat, so it's okay. Yeah, kinda, except for the fact that you're overbreeding them. It's unnatural. That's the key, is it's unnatural. We wouldn't have all these animals in our houses. We're artificially bumping the numbers up of cats and dogs because we enjoy their company. There wouldn't be all these cats and dogs if they were just in the wild doing what they do, eating what they eat. They'd only be in areas where there's a food source, like there's rats or mice. You would have cats in that area and whatever else they feed on, maybe fish, but I think mostly like rodents and things like that. And then they keep down the rodent populations, and it's a system. But we're artificially bumping those numbers up because they're really cute and they're fun to have around and we enjoy their companionship. But that's our doing. And then because of that, because of the millions or billions of cats, that we have, that we've bred into populations and dogs, we're having to give them all this other food, this animal food that even if it's labeled, like even if PetSmart had rat cat food, like that would be natural. So if they wanted to have the most natural option, they would have like basically just rats in a can or minced up, however they would do that. But even that's not natural because you're artificially going to be what? Raising those rats. You're going to have some shed full of rats in horrible conditions. It's factory farming all over again. So it still doesn't work, but at least it would be closer to natural. But they don't have rat flavored cat food. I've never seen it unless it's just not in the US. Or lizard flavored cat food. I've never seen it. So it's unnatural. That's what it comes down to. Same thing, right? When you come down to like some sexual acts, that it's the same thing. It goes back to the same premise, right? It's not natural. It's not as it was designed, and that's the problem. But we all have cats and dogs, so can we, work around it? I mean, yeah, I guess temporarily. I'm just speaking for me. Like I wouldn't have any more cats or dogs. I wouldn't go out there and get any more because I'm gonna have all these ethical issues that I can't solve. I can work around them. I can massage it a little bit and try to make myself feel better, but I'll never get around the fact. I mean, the vegan cat food is great, but it's still. What about the spaying, the neutering, right? What about this poor guy that just woke up in a bathtub full of ice with his nuts gone? On day 2, he's in pain. He's still maybe a little groggy from the meds, and he's like, wow, this person that I love, that loves me, is talking all sweet to me, knocked me out and took my manhood, whatever you want to call it. That's how guys look at it. And then a couple days, eventually it heals up, and now, she's totally fine, and it's like nothing happened. But that's not taking into account any kind of hormonal changes or, things that those hormones would have done in her body to maybe make her body bigger, more muscular, or, however that works. I'm sure those hormones would have impacted her development in some way. But because of what happened, that's not going to happen. So whatever those hormones were going to like boost in her body to like, build her muscular system up and things like that, it's not going to happen. And, there's some of these things, I can't vouch for all this stuff. The incontinence and various cancers and immune-mediated disease and muscular skeletal disorders, cognitive and behavioral. I don't know. I know that they say that it will calm them down? Well, yeah. Yeah. If you've got a young male who's full of hormones and would be out straying around, maybe looking for females and things like that, I can definitely see, or is aggressive, I can definitely see how cutting his nuts off would calm him down. But that sounds like slavery, does it not? Like, I know it sounds normal when you think about an animal, but if you think about this as like a human being, would you not call that slavery? Because you don't, it's basically a commodity. I mean, you didn't get a choice. If you had a choice as a guy, if you had a choice and you had all these benefits, in that whole scenario I just described, right? Getting snatched away from your mother, strange environment, you finally get comfortable, you fall in love, with your keeper. The keeper drops you off at a strange building. They knock you out with either gas or drugs, IV. You wake up, bathtub, scrotum's cut open, testicles are gone, they sewed you up. Your owner comes and picks you up, and you're like, you don't know what's going on. You don't get it. And you talk a different language, so they can't explain it to you. But eventually you get over it. So eventually you're okay, and you live in this scenario, in this environment. You can go outside, you can roam around a little bit, don't go too far. You're not going to have certain functionality, so you're not going to be chasing around for females because you're not going to have those impulses, and you probably, I don't know if that still works. I don't know how that works, but I mean, you can see it's good, right? Kinda, but it's bad in that you didn't have any choice. And if you apply the golden rule, right? We don't want to exploit anybody. Would you do that to yourself? I know you'll do it to your animals, your dogs, your cats, or whatever kind of animals you got. But would you do it to yourself? Would you opt in for that? With all these benefits here, right? Housing and healthcare, love, gifts, free food, treats, free water. Come on now. Free water and free food, and you don't have to work. I should have put that in. You don't have to have a job. Everything's taken care of. Everything's on the house. It's free. All you have to give up is your manhood and your freedom. Right? So would you sign up for it? And if you wouldn't sign up for it, then why are you signing up your pets for it on an involuntary basis? The answer is because you like pets. You like their company. You like their company enough, first off, to breed them when they shouldn't be bred, right? The numbers are artificially high. So you love them enough to breed them into existence through your demand, right? You're demanding these pets, so they create the supply. And then we love them enough to take them away from their parents, and then to make them comfortable for a few months. And then we take them in and either have their ovaries snatched out or their testicles. And they'll get over it. They'll be fine, mentally, I guess. I don't know about other side effects, but their hormones will change for sure. And there'll be differences, but other than that, they'll be happy for the rest of their lives. But does it pass the test? The golden rule test? Would you do it? Would you sign up for it? Would you be happy to sign up for this program? Because it's a golden rule, right? Do unto others, you would have them do unto you. So, would you agree to that? I'm pretty sure I absolutely would not. So that's why I don't want to do it to other beings, others. And that's just one of the issues I have with it. So you've got that, the lack of freedom, and the food. How do you get around the food issue? You've seen their teeth, right? Eh? You've seen their teeth. They're not like us. You see how flat these babies are? How flat those are. Perfect for a vegan diet. This mouth is designed for a vegan diet. It's perfect. But a cat's mouth, that looks completely different. Dog's mouth is quite different also. There's no way to get around. You can't have, vegan and golden rule. Those work great together. They're perfect, a perfect match. But there's no way to make that work with pets. There's just no way to feed them. There's no natural way to feed them. The vegan thing is great. I love it because I've already got these animals and I'm not going to throw them out. So, because I've agreed to take care of them. So I love that for the ones that I have. Would I get more? No, I wouldn't. Now you can run into like, rescue scenarios. That's different. I'm talking about pets. Like she wanted this cat, so we went out and got it because she was upset at the time or something. So we went out and we got the cat. It wasn't a rescue. It wasn't like it was outside and it was hurt and we were saving it and then we were taking it to the vet and get it fixed. Like it wasn't a rescue situation. Aside from the fact that the lady was getting rid of them, so she was going to sell them to someone, but it's a cute cat. Like somebody else would have got it, but it wasn't a rescue. Like we were creating the demand. Like she wanted the cat, so she created the demand, and that's why people had the supply. And the lady made like $50, which I doubt she even broke even. So it's not really a profit kind of situation. But I just wouldn't go out and get pets because then I'm going to have no way to feed them without feeling bad about it, except for maybe the vegan stuff. We'll see how that goes. But it still won't pass the natural test. Is it natural? No. They're not evolved to live in a house. They can do it. You can cut their nails and you can make it work, and you can rip their ovaries out and rip their testicles off and you can make it work. But I don't think it's something that you would sign up for. As a guy, I don't know many guys that'd be like, yeah, that sounds good. Let's do that. Some might. I wouldn't sign up for that. And then the females. So I won't go back through everything, but your ovaries are gone. Same exact situation. You wake up, bathtub, ice, look down, and it's out. The next day, the drugs wear off, and you feel it. And you're betrayed. For 2 days, she would just look up at me with these little cat eyes. And she looked so sad, and I couldn't explain to her what was going on, and she didn't understand. And I was like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me pet you and hug you. It didn't matter. She just looked at me like she had made a mistake. She looked at me like she had done something so horribly wrong that I would do that to her. And she was trying to like reconcile in her mind, like, what did I do? What did I do that I can't remember that was so wrong that you would cut me open and take those organs out? And then once the pain went away and a couple days passed, she's okay now. But golden rule, as a woman, a young woman just growing up, knowing there's going to be some, I guess, hormonal changes maybe. I'm not an expert in that area. But I would guess that taking those out does something to you, right? Like, would you sign up for that? I don't think most people wouldn't. Yeah, prime of your life and you have your ovaries taken out just so that you can be someone else's pet. Literally pet, that's the term, right? It's kind of in the ballpark of slavery, but just like a really nice version. And you're not putting them to work. It's not like a commodity type situation. They're your pets. They're there to entertain you and make you feel good and have a relationship. So it's very strange. But that's my experience. Kind of a weird video, I know, but I figured I'd make it just because it was on my mind. It's a strange situation. It's a very odd relationship we have with pets, and this is coming from someone who's had pets his entire life. All various rabbits and rats and sugar gliders and cats and dogs. I don't know what else I had. All kinds of pets, tons of them. But anymore, because I know the pillars, like the easy pillars, right? You got veganism, you got golden rule, you put those together, boom, it matches up. It's beautiful, perfect. But how do you make that work with pets? You can't. You just can't. At best, you can get the vegan food, and it's good. I like the idea. Could there be issues with that because it's not as natural as what they were intended to eat? I would guess so. I'm sure they've done all the testing on it and made sure all the vitamins and minerals and things are in there, but at the end of the day, it's not natural. It's just unnatural. So you've got that natural rule that you have to kind of hurdle you have to get over, and it's unnatural. They weren't bred, to be with us like that. But, they're cats, so they'll get probably 18, 20 years, so they'll be around for a while. I just won't be getting any more because of the reasons I talked about. Golden rule, would you sign up to be like enslaved, kind of, by another species that you can't communicate with if the only thing you had to give up were your sexual organs, would you do it? Would you voluntarily sign up for that? It's a question you got to ask yourself. And if the answer is no, and you have pets and you had them fixed, did you apply the golden rule to those animals? Did you treat them the way that you want to be treated? Because you should. You should apply that in all situations in your life. When you're dealing with others, are you treating them the way that you would want to be treated? Are you exploiting them? That's it for now. Oh man. Sorry, that ran long. I even got this little hourglass. I figured that would help, but I'm terrible at staying on topic. This thing ran long as usual. So I'll wrap it up. But that's it. Just remember, God loves us enough to come down and be with us. And God wants to help us and provide information and give us the information we need to eventually get home. Because that road to get home is really, really narrow. You actually have no idea how narrow that road is. It's extremely narrow. So it's nice that you actually get the information so that you can kind of whittle yourself down small enough to get on that road and then eventually walk home. But I hope you have a great year, and that's it. So talk to you next time.